Oh my gosh, skipping introduction because we now have this whole thing in into fruition. Oh my gosh, I'm oh hold on. Ooh, gosh, no. Speaking to oh my god. Speaking to speaking to Aggie.
Hello,
Yeah.
hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Now here's the thing is I first heard about you, or at least first kind of was aware of you because of your tweets leading up to DreamCon. You made yourself famous. You became famous on the internet because you were the one who went out there and said, "What the heck is this? How to date baddies panel? You know, outrage. Let's sue DreamCon already."
Ah,
Now y'all giggling about that. Just know
alright.
they have you to that you were the advertisement for that panel. Like they're like, wait, what else is going on at DreamCon? No, I want to hear about that baddies panel.
For the record, I am literally just an average con goer like almost everybody else. And one thing about me and what I learned about DreamCon attendees in general, or no offense to some of y'all just don't like to read. And when it comes to us looking at certain things on in basically information wise, when it comes to us looking at the DreamCon app, I don't expect people to always look at what's available in the panels because 9 times out of 10, people are not going to DreamCon for a lot of programming things. Some people just want to vibe out with their friends. Some people want to meet their friends. I get all of that, and honestly, I agree with you. You have your own motivations to go to DreamCon. But one thing I saw about the programming this year and what I was expecting to see was just a lot of different panels from different subjects from gaming, anime, and pop culture. So when I saw the how to pick up baddies at the at an anime convention, obviously the title really caught my eye, and that was the main reason why I made my tweet. I said now in like a more comical tone because the title itself was wild. This is something I told Saros when I first saw him. I was just like, "You, you got me with that title," and I'm not gonna hold you. Even making my tweet towards that gained a lot of attention, which
It
some
did.
negative, some positive. I get it. Well, I have my intentions making that tweet, and I was just bewildered by the title. Everybody else, y'all kind of just
I might
went
get
the other way with
fired,
that.
but I'm back. Oh, okay. You know what? Okay. Let me tell you about watching some panels or watching a stream while you're on the clock. You can watch a stream and then pause the stream or pause the audio, and then you do doing something while you're on the clock, and then on your break you can like resume the audio. The VODs, they're not gone. They go up as soon as they're over, so you're not losing anything. But
He's
all
an
right.
excitable one. I appreciate who prefer what he does, but I'm just like, just don't get fired, please. I've been at your job.
I mean, don't. I would not do that. But anyway, but no, go as you were saying. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So when I saw that panel initially, I just kind of took it as I'm curious on what exactly they're going to say at this panel. Are they going to give advice? Are they going to tell us to, I don't know, just don't be weird, take a shower, clean up your hygiene, make sure your dress can no, presentably. I'm about to say I can't pronounce words for some reason, but presentably, basically the simple stuff. But posting that on Twitter obviously had its own risks. Obviously, people are going to look at it a certain way where it's just like, oh, is this panel's going to show how to harass cosplayers and how people are going to be at conventions? Now, how is this a safe space? Cosplay isn't consent. We already know about a lot of these things, and honestly, I do agree with them. I, on the other hand, knew it wasn't going to be about that. I had an idea of obviously DreamCon approving panels like this and making sure it's part of its programming. They're just gonna throw a random panel onto a convention and just say, hey, yeah, everybody go to this, and then just go from there and just let it be something negative. No, I trust the person who runs the programming portion at DreamCon to the extent where if they chose this, there obviously something good coming out of it. We all went to DreamCon, and I hope we all went to the panel because when I went to the panel, it was exactly what I thought it would be. Fine, completely great. If anything, it was really engaging. I actually enjoyed the panel.
Okay. Okay, so like the next time it happens, would tell everybody, yeah, you should go to this panel.
You
And
probably
then,
should go, yeah.
okay, oh, there, all right. Now I missed the panel, but I think I met the guy.
Zeros,
Um,
yes.
I think I did. I don't remember. I might have, but maybe I haven't. But that's cool because yeah, there was nothing but hate and backlash and given harassment still happened at DreamCon, but I don't. I wouldn't put that on the panel. I hope that none of that happened to you too, because that is important. Um, but looking on that aside, did you enjoy your experience at DreamCon?
Yeah, so this is actually my third DreamCon. I started going in 2022 when it was still in Arlington. So for the
Right.
last 2 years, it's been in
Okay.
Austin. And so far, I would say this is definitely one of their best DreamCons they had in Austin. Even though last year was their first time being there, getting used to the Austin Convention Center and trying to learn the ins and outs and what works and what doesn't work as a convention at this particular venue. Knowing the information that they learned from last year did help a lot because I thought it was significantly better ran this year. And this is coming from somebody who was a part of the volunteer crew. I had I had a better time making sure my job was done efficiently this year than it was last year because last year was hectic.
Okay. Love that. Love that. Did you get to party and like go to Austin and say hi to all the people on the street, like doing a show and there was shirtless people and then there was bars. Y'all did your thing
Like
at DreamCon.
I'm on
Yeah, we
6th
did
Street
our
right
thing.
now.
Yeah, Sixth Street. Yeah, that is DreamCon Sixth Street. Well, now it's gonna be in Houston, so I don't know if Houston's got a 5th Street or 4th Street or whatever. Aggie was
I
the
never
party
been to
host.
Houston myself. I'm like I was not part of the 6th Street shenanigans this year as I was last year because last year I literally got off of my shift from volunteering and I had to walk back to my hotel. And
Mm.
my hotel is like it was like a few blocks away from the convention center. And I had to walk through 6th Street to get to it. So witnessing the shenanigans on 6th Street last year was just a fever dream at its finest. I've seen people run around shirtless. I've seen people dance on the street, having fun, eating like nasty pizza. Because honestly, food is not that good. But
The food is
me
not
getting
good
to
at 6th Street.
it's not that pizza was horrible. You're not about to charge me $3 for some pizza that just tastes like nonsense.
No,
I wouldn't say that's the Austin food scene as a whole though. Austin's food scene is pretty decent. Like there's other places I did go this year, like this place called the Burger Bar, which I love. Great place. But
the
food on
food
6th
call
Street,
out.
hit or miss.
Well. The food call at 6th Street had a huge snake. A what?
Oh,
There was a snake?
there
What was
was a
that?
snake. Yeah, there was three guys like walking around with snakes.
I totally missed that.
See,
But
it was
even
just so much.
even but even what's it called? Uh, uh, what is it called? Devil, not devilish donuts.
Oh, Voodoo Donuts?
Voodoo donuts. Yeah.
Okay, Voodoo Donuts, believe it or not, I didn't have a chance to go to this time again. I was supposed to go last year, but I didn't have time to due to my volunteer schedule being a little hectic. And this year, I just didn't go because number one, I was preoccupied trying to celebrate my friend's birthday and making sure that
Oh
went
yeah.
well, which it did.
Yeah.
And two, I was just like, "Ugh, well, I got other things to do. So it was either between me going to multiple parties, which I did. I only went to maybe two at best. And then just also seeing my free time. Like, if I had a chance to go, I'll go. But until then, I'm going to have to miss out on Voodoo Donuts. So I think
Oh.
there's a Voodoo Donuts in, like, Houston. Hopefully. If not, then, well, the one time I go to Austin again, maybe I'll try it. But until then, Voodoo
They're in
Donuts is just
Dallas too. But yeah, you definitely should. You should get in that voodoo. That the donuts. They are magically delicious. Whatever the saying. They're putting the snake on people. Tourist trap. Wait, what? The snake on. And hi, Zal Gadot. Wait, Gal is that a play on Gal Gadot? Yeah, Zal Gadot.
like if you're familiar with creepypastas, it's like a play on the character Zalgo.
I
I
don't even
thought
know what that is, but that
understandable.
the chocolate molten lava cake from Chili's made my. Okay, there we go. See that's a positive. That's a positive experience.
The
Um,
Chili's experience is definitely something good to have, especially since the partnership with DreamCon this year. If you had a premium badge, you did get to go to the premium luncheon with RDC. That was amazing.
okay, because that's the thing is like I don't even like I've been to DreamCon probably as long as you have, and I don't even know RDC. Like I pretty much go there because what I do. A lot of black creators that I know, they're like, "Hey, Chase, there's this thing happening called DreamCon. It's in well, it was in Frisco, and now it's in Austin." So it was kind of for my friends, and to this day I still have yet to meet RDC. Like, they're the owners of the convention. They're the hosts, and like I have never met them. I've never met this Berlizzi or any of the big people that everybody like jumps up and down for. I just go there for the people that I've spent time with online, and I just that makes the event for me. But
That's
yeah.
like a common thing with a lot of goes through a mixture of what type of attendee I'm usually meeting whenever I'm interacting with someone. Is
Oh,
this
hold on,
somebody
one
who's
one
coming?
second, 1 second. I'm gonna try something because this is disconnecting for some reason. Hold on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I just placed it in a way where it shouldn't be just randomly disconnecting. I don't know, the wires kind of act like that. Anyway, go on with what you were saying. Sorry.
It's always a mixture of different types of attendees that attend DreamCon because 9 times out of 10 they always have a different reason as to why they're attending. Some people like the idea of going to a convention where they can attend the panels, the events that are happening within a convention, meeting people who are potential guests at the convention, or just honestly coming to the exhibitor hall and just seeing their favorite shop slash businesses that are here vending with us, which is great. On the other hand, there's always going to be somebody else that's just like, oh, I'm here to meet up my friends. Like, some people literally just find out about DreamCon through Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch. Literally, people they know who are creators just come down and just say, hey, I'm going to DreamCon this weekend, and if you want, we can meet that time. So it helps usually, but then I'm also like, as somebody who's been going to conventions since she was 10 years old, I'm always in a mixture of, yeah, I want to meet my friends, but I also want to experience the convention because that's something I'm already used to, or at least have the main mindset of doing so when I go to conventions. Because if I want to meet my friends, I could just always tell them, hey, yo, can we hang out? But in our growing age of technology, my friends do not live in Philly, which was
Mm.
supposed to be part of my introduction. I'm from Philadelphia, if y'all don't know. So I'm on the East Coast. And a lot of my friends that I found out from Twitter or Instagram or even any parts of social media, they don't live in Philadelphia. Some of them live in New York. Some of them live in Atlanta, which I recently went to Atlanta for MomoCon this year, which was great, by the way. I love MomoCon. People are everywhere. And sometimes you're not going to meet your friend literally next door. 9 times out of 10, they probably live in, who knows, California.
Okay, yes, sir. Aggie about to talk to him about how to get down at parties. Yeah, they're talking about like how you're a party animal when you go to conventions. You like to go crazy.
It depends on the party most of the cases, but
Depends on the
what can I
party.
say? It does depend on the party because there's certain parties where you know you have to either carry a certain demeanor, I guess demeanor will be the right word, or you're going to party out and act out. Like for me personally, I like parties that give me the opportunity to dance. And I'm not going to say I go crazy with the dancing. I just like to have a good time. So that's why in like New York City, for example, the nerd scene is great in New York City. So they always have like a safe space where nerds in particular can party. And this is like a shout out to my favorite party scenes like Land Party, which is a sponsor at DreamCon. Trap Sushi, they're from Atlanta. When I went to Atlanta this year, I finally got introduced to Trap Sushi, and that was a great time. And other party scenes as well too. I like to have a great time when I go to these parties and be social and network. That's why I tell people, if you're able to and if this is something you enjoy, go to a party, go meet some friends, find some people there that you might know, might not know, get to know some people, have a great time, enjoy a drink or two if you can.
Okay, well, they say no, you go crazy with the dancing.
As I should.
Shout out NYC. Oh, that's cool. So, at least from my understanding, is that you consider yourself a convention traveler. You go to all these conventions. You like to be the attendee, be the number one supporter. You mentioned MomoCon as one. Where did all of this start for you?
So let's see. How do I start this story here? As I mentioned earlier, or at least didn't go into too much detail about, I have been going to conventions since I was 10 years old. The first convention I went to, or at least if I can remember the name, I think it starts with a Z, like Zenicon or Zenicon, something like that. But it used to be in Philadelphia, where one day I was with my mother and sister and we were walking around in our local mall, which used to be called the Gallery, but it's now known as the Fashion District of Philadelphia. And there was these two or three convention workers there giving out flyers to their anime convention. To which my mom took, and she was just like, "You guys like this?" The way how she likes to refer to it. "You guys like these Mickey Mouse looking things, right? You guys like anime? You guys want to go?" And I'm just like, "I want to go. I don't know what's really about here, but it sounds fun." So she buys a ticket for my sister and I, and we attend our first anime convention for one day. That one day changed the whole trajectory for me because now I want to go to multiple anime conventions. But at the time, we didn't have money to just continuously be going to convention after convention every year. And that was the one time they only did an anime convention in Philly. So by then, there wasn't any anime conventions after that. And for 4 years, I was like on this forceful hiatus or indefinite hiatus until another convention comes up that's called J1Con. Now, J1Con is still technically happening, or at least still going on, and it's like one of the oldest black founded conventions that happened in Philadelphia, which is now in New Jersey. And when I went back to conventions, it just started this whole ordeal of me saying I still want to go to these conventions more and more. But as a teenager, number one, I didn't have money, and two, I was still in school, so I can't just say I want to go to conventions every year when I have other obligations to do. And by then, I was already learning how to play trombone and trying to get into music school. So another long, indefinite hiatus of me going to conventions happens again until I graduate high school and started attending college. That's when I went back to J1Con in 2018 and started going almost every year before COVID happened. And then by then, COVID happens, conventions are happening again, and people are not running it. And they're going online. So for the most part, I was just like, okay, I'm back on an indefinite hiatus because of whatever circumstances is happening again. That wasn't until 2021 when I got back from New York and I met up with my neighbor slash also god sister, my friend Jax, and she tells me about DreamCon. Now, at this time, I was already starting my senior year of college, and I was asking her about DreamCon because I saw her content, and she showed me a lot of pictures, videos, and things about DreamCon to the point where I was so enamored, enthralled, literally captivated by the sights of DreamCon so much that I said, I'm going to attend this next year after college. So I graduate from college, start preparing myself for DreamCon, and make my way to Arlington, Texas, where they had DreamCon 2022 at the Arlington Esports Arena. Overall, loved it. Managed to meet almost all the guests that was there, somehow by chance, otherwise by me just getting my VIP badge and having the opportunity to meet them. But overall, it was a great time. And that moment was when I said, I would love to support DreamCon to the fullest extent that I could. So I decided to become a volunteer and part of the crew for 2023. And it also gave me this, I guess, mindset shift and also career shift of me wanting to know what it's like to run conventions, or how does it feel to hire guests for conventions and get people onto opportunities to be able to do things like this. So, although this was a shot in the dark and also a crazy idea to have for me to prepare for, after DreamCon 2023, no, This was not after DreamCon 2023. This was after New York Anime New York City 2023 because I also went to the Anime NYC. I decided I want to get to know what our conventions like as an attendee, but also gather my own personal data of what conventions entail. How are they ran? What goes into running it? What do I need to know as somebody who wants to be part of the talent relations and also logistics of conventions? What do other conventions do that DreamCon could possibly thrive in, as well as learn from? So I went on this contour, as people like to um, dub it. I'll say they like to name it as a contour. I kind of just call it me just going on vacation a lot for real. But let's say it's Aggie's contour. I went on this contour for me to understand what our conventions like and also get my own information about it. So people started to see what I was doing and then just say that I was either rich, famous, or just have somebody sponsoring me going to all these conventions and asking me how am I able to do all of that. And that what inspired me to do it was just me wanting to know more about conventions. So now, as we speak, I think I've been to about 6 or 7 conventions this year alone. And now I'm just trying to see how I'm going to put all of that information up together for people to know what goes into planning for a convention, how to prepare for it, what they should expect from certain conventions, because as you know, certain conventions have their own reputation, and how they could do something similar to this. Because 9 times out of 10, when you tell somebody, "Oh, I've been to 10 conventions," they're obviously going to say you have a lot of money, but they're also going to say it's overwhelming to them to even attend that much. Sure, but you've seen musicians before who have to go on tour almost every year just for them to make their own money, but also travel a lot. So I kind of see it the same way. I'm just going on a tour, but I'm also just here to have fun and also learn about conventions as a whole, if that works.
So how do you even afford all this? Because this is a lot of traveling, a lot of.
I knew I was going to be hit with this question. For the most part, I mean, I work, so that's already the main thing too.
Okay.
I have 2 jobs as the executive assistant at Kin Apparel, which is a clothing brand that specializes in satin line hoodies, satin line hats, basically satin line things to protect hair and skin for anybody with certain hair textures. That's my most recent job. I do that. I just started that. But for the most part, when I first started this contour, I worked as a customer service representative at Cash App, as well as a community manager at a gaming studio, which I'm not going to name, but I'm a community manager, and all I usually do is just check emails, talk to people, quite literally, and make sure things are being ran a certain way and keep an eye out on communities. It's kind of like me monitoring social medias at times too, but for the most part, it's kind of me working remotely. So, due to me working remotely, I'm also able to move around and do my job elsewhere. Does it pay a lot? It pays a suitable amount. So, I mean, I
I
can
mean,
afford to go to places.
it would have to if you're able to just travel
I'm about
like
to say
that.
I would like to believe it pays a lot. It pays enough for me to be able to do this, but I also do other things as well too, just to have like different sources of income.
Okay.
So besides my main income, I do have 3 passive incomes where I make content with affiliate marketing. Did that for about 2 to 3 years and saved a lot of money from it, as well as investing, which I invest in the stock market, guys. I know it's crashing. Don't remind me,
Mm,
but I also
mm,
invest in I'm learning to invest in retail as well too. That's
okay.
been a journey, but I'm getting used to it now. And I have credit cards, which a lot of people do say you shouldn't do that if you can't afford it, which you shouldn't because that's correct. On the other hand, investing in a credit card does help a lot too because it can pay for your lodging. It can also pay for you going to these flights for not flights, taking these flights or trips out to different states, sometimes for free, other times for very cheap. So it's more like an investment game and knowing where your money is going versus you just saying, I want to do this, I want to go there. Because if you don't know how to budget and invest your money into places where you know you want to go to, you're in for a tough scare.
Mm, okay. Well, so you really plan all this out because I would hear it would just be all over Twitter from people I know or even just people who went to conventions like I went. to this con. I had a great time. Now my rent is due, and I'm out of luck. Um, so, how are you just able to just successfully budget yourself like that?
This takes a lot of discipline on my end, and this is something I learned from not only my own childhood, but also just me in general from what I'm trying to do. But it takes a certain amount of discipline for you to know where your money is going and how to hold it over, because money can disappear just as quick as you can make it. And that's a subjective statement on its own, because sometimes it takes a little while to make a certain amount of money before you lose it in the last day that you get it. I understand. But for me, it took sacrificing a lot of things that people find convenience in. Like for me, the simplest thing I did when it came to me also saving my money, I had to cut out taking out food for a long time before I was just like, you know what, I can just learn how to cook. That's something as simple as that. You could start as simple as that, just like saying I will not order out food because, quite frankly, it's expensive. And while I understand groceries are just as expensive, if not more expensive than taking out food, you get more benefits that way. If you cook your food, you might save a lot of money. Maybe. Depends on where you shop. You gotta be a smart shopper, honestly, to get your good food. I say that. I'm like, I say that, but I'm also just like, I know how to shop properly and make sure things are going towards not only the benefit of my health, but also the benefit of my pockets. And we're trying to benefit our pockets here. So that's one thing. Um, so when it comes to like bills and such, you also have to know what type of bills you're paying. And the way how I kind of word this for me, like one of my smart tips that I like to give people is if your cell phone bill, for example, can hold money into like an account. Like for me, I have Boost Mobile, and you can just always refill your account with money for each bill. My billing cycle is about maybe $28 to $30 a month. Whatever. Do the math. So you do about 30 times 12, or like whatever amount it is times 12, and then just fill that account with like 12 months worth of your bills and let that pay over on its own. So that way you won't have to worry about the bill, number one, and two, you can never just say that, oh, I can't go to this or I can't pay for this because now I gotta pay for that. If you can refill the account with money and make sure the account is paying it off for you, that gives you one less worry. But also putting your money where you know it's important is more mindful than you just saying, I'm just gonna ball out on this trip and make sure I have no money for the next few weeks. I can't do that, number one, because I get too scared about money in general, and I want to make sure things are paid for before I go out. And two, we live in a whole different place where you need to make sure things are paid before you go out. I know, I get it. It's like a luxury thing to even be doing these things, which is true. I acknowledge that, but I want the convenience of me being able to live comfortably first before I get into luxury. And if I can merge the two, it's always great. But I know that's not the reality for everybody. I acknowledge that. It's not the reality for me either, but I know how to get through it.
Right. No, I get. No, that's awesome. The way you're able to just find a way to find a way to really just be traveling out like that, to going to these conventions. Now, that also leads to excuse me, to hotels and like places to stay in, because that becomes a subject. Is okay. So what can I afford as far as uh, a place to sleep through the night, since I'm going away from my home for a bit.
This one was a this was a reality I was kind of like set aside in 2021 when I went to Anime New York City for the first time. And one thing I valued from that moment when I learned about it at the time was networking. A lot of people, this is such an unpopular opinion, but when people first talk to me, or at least whenever I talk to people, I say, "Oh, how are you, friend?" And I know, it's a controversial statement as a whole where I'm just like, I'm calling everybody friend, but not everybody's my friend. I don't necessarily see it that way. I see it as everybody starts at 100 and it only takes them a certain amount of time before they start appreciating the value of where they are as a friend versus like who they are as an acquaintance. Because everybody's starting at 100, but you can always do something to me that makes you go back down to 50 or to 0, or just for me saying I don't know you. Now, what that has to do with the networking thing is people you meet. And the way your first impression always matters with those people that you meet, but also the way you talk to them and how you talk to them and how often you talk to them matters too. Because some people can also help you in the long run with certain things. Hotel wise, this shouldn't really count for me because I honestly I have a family member who has been working at hotels for 25 to 30 years. She already had the benefits covered for her for a long time. So when she told me that Marriott is technically our family hotel chain because a lot of people have benefits with Marriott under in my family, that's when I started to take more time to look up. First of all, learn about Marriott because I know, but also just learning how to get myself up to a certain tier for me to have the benefits. Because from what she told me, the highest tier you can have at Marriott is the ambassador tier, where you can not only get a later checkout but also cheaper rates. And that helped a lot, and that helps a lot with these hotels in particular for conventions because sometimes, and this is no shade to DreamCon, but you are going to get a lot of shade from me for this. My rates as a Titanium Elite member were better than DreamCon's hotel rates. I didn't have
Oh,
to pay
okay.
$200 versus me paying $150 a night at DreamCon.
All right. Well, you know what? If the DreamCon staff got lucky and like now you have to pay full tenfold because of what you said. Yep.
I'm like, I mean, it maybe we need a better hotel director just getting us better rates because I shouldn't be paying over
Oh, okay.
$220
All
in
right.
Austin.
All right. All right. Wow. Wow. Okay. I'm
Like,
not
I
gonna
shouldn't
speak
be
for.
throwing shots, but I'm like, I'm also saying I could probably get a better rate if we just try. Maybe we all need Titanium Elite.
Okay. Well, I don't know if they have a feedback form. Maybe you could fill out the form and say get Titanium Elite. Um, Cause yeah, I well that's the thing is I hear so when people talk about like cheaper ways, one they talk about not booking a hotel by yourself. Like if you're booking a room, like have book a room with a friend or two, so you kind of split the costs. So there's that one. The other thing, this gets talked a lot, Airbnb as
Hmm.
opposed to using a hotel.
That one is a little different in in terms of what's better for your group in particular and for yourself. I like using hotels because there's the convenience of not having to worry about too much being done in them. So, obviously, you know, housekeeping is part of hotels. They have that. They clean up your rooms whenever you're gone. They put things away for you if you really need that. Then the convenience is there. Sometimes they even offer free breakfast if the hotel has it. And there's just other utilities and amenities that you can get outside of an Airbnb. As opposed to an Airbnb where you not only have the whole place to yourself, but you can basically do anything and everything that you want, provided that the rules allow. Now,
Okay.
here's the thing:
Why?
Airbnbs, Airbnbs, I do like the idea of if you have a big group, and I haven't had a big group of friends come with me to a convention in a long time because 9 times out of 10 they usually want to split up and do other things. Meanwhile, I have another group of friends that want to just have like a smaller place to themselves and just do whatever. So the idea of an Airbnb hasn't really hit my mind a lot, but it's always in there whenever I'm like, oh, okay, we have like a lot of people in this group as opposed to last year. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get a hotel. I got the hotel benefits. I'm fine. For this year, I didn't have to get I didn't need an Airbnb because I only had 3 people in my group, so we just opted in for a hotel and just kind of stick with whatever Marriott was willing to give, and they gave me a good room, so we were chilling. For next year at DreamCon or any convention really, because I do expect to have a bigger group now since my artist friends who are vendors or potential vendors for these conventions want to come. We might need to get an Airbnb this time, and it's better on them if they don't want too much. What I mean by that, and I hope the person who I know I'm really speaking to on this one is hearing me. If they don't want a pool this time, we're gonna pay for a cheap Airbnb. Otherwise, the way how they kind of are very adamant about a pool, which sometimes some Airbnbs don't offer pools, some do, but hotels are always gonna offer a pool because where we're going, they always have one. You would pay more for more amenities at an Airbnb versus you paying more for more amenities at a hotel due to the fact that it just comes with it. Certain things come with a hotel that an Airbnb can't provide, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Okay. Now, um, when it comes to doing what you do as a as I would say a professional con goer, because you have all the to dos and to not to dos. You really you really plan all that down. And I mean, case in point in what you mentioned in your history and work experience, to someone who's never been to a convention before, why should they go to one?
It depends on your reasoning, number one. And two, for me personally, or at least why I think anybody should go to a convention, is because there's always a convention for something.
Okay.
That means it can be as something as minor as you liking flowers. In Philadelphia, we have the flower show every year, and I wouldn't necessarily call that a convention per se, but it technically is a convention due to the fact that they have similar things that conventions like a gaming, anime, or even as a tattoo convention. Tattoo conventions usually have like some type of paneling and programming that even the flower show in Philadelphia has. So I think you should go because there's always going to be people who share the same interests as you that you could potentially meet at these conventions. There's the networking opportunity. The programming, you can also learn about your particular interests more at a convention than you would at like maybe a small group meeting or whatnot. Not to say that those small group things or small group events aren't any better than a big convention, but there's more there, and there's obviously going to be more money put towards that particular event. So if you go to a convention, you have more opportunity to get things that you probably won't be able to get at like a regular storefront when it's exclusive to that particular event itself, and it might capture your eye for you to just say, I'll take the time and investment to go to this convention and see what happens there. So I think it's worthwhile going to a convention once in your life and just see how you feel about it. It's not for everybody. I acknowledge that. I understand that. But it's also something to consider, to just to at least try and see how you like it. If you don't like it, that's completely fine. You don't have to say you don't have to like it just to say I won't go back to another one again. Not every convention is for everyone. There's always going to be something out there for you, and it might be smaller, it might be bigger, it might be even medium size, and that might be the perfect size for you.
Okay. What would you say is the strangest convention you ever went to? The way you just oh my god, you are killing it. You know what? Do you need a nice drink of poggers?
Oh wow!
Some hydration to quench all that laughter.
Oh, how?
Thank you, Pogger. 10%. No, no, go ahead.
Okay. Ooh. It's so contradictory for me to say this because I still go to this convention, but the strangest convention I went to at first was Anime New York City in 2021. And the reason for that was because of one particular interaction. Now, before I continue, I could talk about slightly not safe for work topics on this, right?
I mean, I do GTRP, and if you know GTRP, that's very non-safe for work sometimes. So.
Okay, it's fine. All right, perfect. I just needed that warning before I continue with the story. So, um,
No, it's okay.
I think it was the second day where I was basically just going around and doing my little con runs after a panel.
Right.
And I was taking pictures with a few friends and some cosplayers. And I stumbled upon these two cosplayers cosplaying as Panty and Stocking. They were sisters, to my knowledge. Right.
Okay.
And they said, oh, yeah. They said, you want to take a picture with us? Because I was admiring the cosplay. It was really well done. And I said, yeah, I'd love to take a picture with you guys. So we take a picture. And after we take our picture, we talk for a little bit. Nothing too deep or like in anything in particular until the sister, which I assume she was either older or younger. I don't know the girl age for real. I just know they were over 21. And she was just like, are you single? And I said, oh yeah, I'm single. And I'm just here like, okay, what is she about to ask? Because I already know where this is about to lead. She says, are you single? I'm like, yeah, I'm single. Why? What's up? And she was just like, personal question. I don't know why would you ask this to a complete stranger, but they did anyway. Are you a virgin? And I said, yes. Very, just so awkwardly. I was just like, yes. ... Whatever. And then she was just like, would you like to have a threesome with us? So me being the dumbfounded, dumbstruck, shocked, eyes stretched out, and I'm just like, no, I'm okay. But I didn't even want to say thank you. I just said no, I'm okay, and
Maybe
kind
they
of
were just
just did it.
joking.
I don't know if they were even joking for real. I don't know anything. I was just so nobody has ever asked me that in my life, and to the point where I'm just like,
Hey, you know,
who is this shit at the convention?
it could happen. I mean, I hear that those things happen at DreamCon. I don't. Was it Cream Con
Dream Con.
Dream and Dream?
Listen, Dream Con. There's just a lot of. It's so much. I could go on and on about the Cream Con thing, but I'm gonna save that for a different time. Long story short, that was just a strange time for me at Anime NYC because that being one of the strange instances I stumbled upon at a convention, I'm like, I don't know if I'll come back, but hey, we'll see. This convention has been good to me so far. It's just this one interaction. Then I also witnessed somebody getting spit in their mouth. So I was just like,
Okay.
Anime NYC. Yeah, see? Anime NYC is just, you can get a hit or miss moment there.
I mean, I've been to conventions where like guys literally ask women to step on them. So I
That,
guess
that, that, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm like immune to that one because I'm like,
I
that's
just
just a
like
common
it's
joint.
just people get freaky. You know, they're adults, they're grown ups with consent. I don't judge. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Um, I mean, if it was with consent, I don't know.
Well,
They
that now, if it was consent, go ahead. You could do whatever you want. But me at the time, I was just like, oh, this. They were not lying when they said anime conventions get strange.
Oh no, they do. Yeah, of course. But
That was just my ordeal. I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I could say that was like the strangest time I had at a convention, but strangest convention, I haven't went to one that was just completely strange from beginning to end. Not yet.
mm, give it time. Since
Dang it.
no, you making a whole career out of it. So do you consider yourself wanting to even run a convention?
I would want to maybe as like a director for I don't know relations or logistics since I know how that usually works. But to say I would want to be somebody who wants to have their own convention like Aggie Con or Mastermind Con, no, I don't think I would put too much money towards that because number one, I don't even know what I'll be able to offer for that instead of me just saying, "Hey guys, stay hydrated, drink water, stay safe. You are
Yeah.
awesome." Like I can only say so much for y'all to just say I will pay $60 for 3 days just to see you say, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" No, I'm not even gonna hold that on you either. You could come to say hi, but after that, no.
Okay. Hey, you know what? You be famous on Twitter, so you never know. You might there might be a one from it.
I would consider hosting at a convention. Like if DreamCon needed hosts, I I'd be down to do that. I'd be like Supreme Sensei and
Okay.
just say, "Let me host at a convention." But to have
Okay.
my own, no.
Okay. To host. All right, and then they're gonna look at you talking crap about their hotel prices. They're gonna be like, "No, heck no, you get out of here with that."
Do a better job. We get mad at me for it.
Okay, well, uh, you didn't see all the Diddy stuff at DreamCon, right? Or the what was it? Was it there a guy walking around and like trolling people? I don't know. There was actually a bunch of things that people were like having discourse over besides that panel about baddies.
I've heard a lot about some controversial issues at DreamCon from like someone giving out flyers to a Diddy party, which I found out who was the originator of that
Huh?
particular thing. Not the person who was like obviously giving out the flyers. I didn't see that part, but I did see like photos of it on Twitter. However, the person like who originally started this Diddy party thing, I do know of and even heard about, and it was just more so for them to promote their music career. And the way
Mm.
how people can only promote certain things about themselves is through controversy, which I learned through years and years of being on the internet in general. So that's how I knew about it, and I didn't think somebody would be as serious enough as to like give literal flyers to our creators and some of our guests at DreamCon. So now it's just like as long as that person's not part of like the industry or whatnot, we know we're not going to let them back at DreamCon. As far as I would like to
Mm,
believe.
okay.
And then there was other instances of like some people were just getting harassed and such, or just like SA'd, which I mean, we found like a few of them and found out who were the actual culprits and make sure they're not coming back to DreamCon. So we can only do so much as people who are in the crew and also staff members, but the least we can do is try to make people safe, and we've been doing an extreme job at doing that.
And the reason I bring that up, because I had friends who were unfortunately one of a couple of the victims, but
I'm
the
sorry.
other, no, I understand, but the other part of it, probably even the bigger thing, is that, well, I wouldn't say bigger thing. Part of it is just that I would see it's mainly women or POC women kind of say, I don't know if I want to go to a convention because of these things. Um, and I mean, you as a professional convention goer, and not saying you have all the answers, definitely not, but in at least your experience of like those situations, like if you were to tell someone who might be a little scared or nervous because of those situations, like what would you recommend um, that would encourage them to at least attend conventions in the most comfortable way if you were to do that?
Right. And usually the thing I would say for the most part is you need to be well, depends on, first of all, I hear this a lot whenever I'm like traveling in and out of Philadelphia or even inside Philadelphia, because it's something that our local public transit even enlists that we all do regardless of where we're going. And that's just to be alert, stay vigilant, and make sure you have all of your personal belongings and keep an eye out on them. And that goes for even you as somebody who goes to a convention. You always need to be alert. You need to always stay vigilant and make sure you're watching over yourself and those who are around you. That's why we always suggest, or at least I recommend, you go with people that you know close and who also share that same interest. Because 9 times out of 10, at least when you have a friend with you, your chances of making sure that you're safe are a little higher because at least somebody's out looking out over you and making sure things are okay. That being said, the unfortunate reality with things of that nature is they're going to happen everywhere, regardless of it being at a convention or just
Right.
anywhere else in general. And it's just a matter of you taking those extra steps to make sure everybody in your party is safe. You can only do so much to make sure these things don't happen, and such is life, which it shouldn't happen. I say this as somebody who knows what it feels like. It shouldn't happen. But you got to do what you got to do to make sure you still can have fun and stay safe, even in big settings like that. But the least you can do is also take precaution and know how to take precaution and how to handle those situations when it does happen, ultimately, too. Be able to tell somebody who works for the convention and tell them about the incident in detail, because the details do matter, and make sure we have an idea of what to look out for and how to handle the situation back on our end. Because we can only do so much, but the least we can do is be aware. That's the simplest thing, being aware.
Right. No, that's important. And the only reason I add this, just to, not to bring anything down, but just the fact that you have just this high grade of experience, and knowing this is a thing, and that's why you
Mm.
have things like for example, my next guest is the creator of HotieCon, and it's a POC woman focused convention, and there's these other conventions happening. They're kind of doing similar things, or Women of WonderCon in Dallas. Um, it's no, it's just important that everybody has a good time, and I'm and the when your advice is valued greatly, in that, because I if I knew sooner that I would, but I do appreciate that. Sorry, I don't mean to be all the
I
way
mean,
up in.
I mean, I get that. That's fair.
Sorry, I'm jumbling around. All right, let's get to the silly stuff. Yay, Pog. I mean,
Like you try to get this Hogger drink out here.
hey, let's get happy. Let's get. I'm high on this stuff. Anyway, it's not. It's not a drug, by the way. It's not. It's not. Okay, so the other thing besides that, which was important to bring up, is value. Because the other thing, besides whether or not some people say conventions are expensive, it's like, okay, if I pay this ticket, and you even mentioned the premium, like, what if I just want to pay a general ticket? And I'm going to get the value of this convention. And I think some of the other things that people say sometimes in conventions, they'll be good or bad, are lines. Like, for example, at DreamCon, the they kind of went online and told you to RVSP, but then when people go to the conventions, they had to kind of camp out outside the line for a couple of hours in order to get in. Um, what would you say as far as how to take advantage of your time and the value that you paid for to be here?
I look at it in two different ways because I've heard so much about the RSVP thing at DreamCon. One, I thought it was a good idea to even implement in the first place because, as we all should know, or at least people who may or may not know, DreamCon has a notorious reputation of having horribly controlled lines, and it's still going up until the seventh year. I can tell it's going to happen in Houston, so it's just an unavoidable curse that comes with a popular convention. This happens at multiple conventions, not even
Yeah,
just DreamCon.
and I do want to kind of address this. Is like we're not like picking on DreamCon or anything like that. This I will tell you, San Diego Comic Con, there is that H Hall, and people would say like that H Hall, it's like miles upon miles just to try to get into that line, where usually they announce all the Marvel stuff, for example. Um, so yeah, no, that is true. But how does someone who thinks like, man, I really want to go to this panel, and then they wait in line for 3 hours, and like, man, I could have spent that time doing other things, like, or someone who's new to the convention, are like, okay, what activities do I do? How do I take advantage? Like, that's kind of the whole subject. How do I take advantage of my time at this new thing that I'm now experiencing?
It's something you learn as like someone who had to plan to come to the convention in the first place, learning how to plan and learning how to prioritize your time. So if you know you're going to a convention that is known for its ginormous size and how the line situation is, because it's not impossible for you to learn about how the line situation is at any convention. Once you hear how popular it is, you know it's going to probably be an outrageous line. And it's also understanding the popularity of the event that you're trying to go to at this convention, so that way you know how to appropriately plan your time for waiting in line and also trying to get into that. The way how that works is prioritizing and most likely sacrificing, depending on how you're going to feel about it, because most cases you're probably going to have to sacrifice your time somewhere else to get to where you need to be a lot earlier. And that's not to say that conventions can only do so much on handling that situation, because we can only do so much. We can't really just say that, okay, we're going to extinguish all the lines and then just go from there. That's not how things, but we try to take measures on our own as well as doing measures as ourselves as attendees to help alleviate the problem. We tell you to show up early to the panel just so you can be in line and for you to be able to at least guarantee a spot or some entry. However, this might include you probably needing to leave somewhere a little earlier because you need to be in line. That's fine. That's great because you're trying to prioritize your time and also what you're trying to do at a particular event and panel. That's something they even recommend at other popular conventions like Anime New York City. Like, we just went through a panel reservation thing this weekend. Not this weekend. This whole week from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday for their panels coming up next week. And they got things happening with Netflix and showcasing world premieres of different anime. What they tell you in the fine print, however, is having an RSVP will not guarantee you entry. And that's something DreamCon probably should have mentioned earlier when they did the RSVP system, because it didn't guarantee entry for a lot of people. But you attendees are not slick either. Y'all did take tickets from people who did get RSVPs and then try to show it to a lot of the crew members and try to confuse us. We know some of y'all are not named the same thing, but we also know some of y'all are under people's tickets because they brought your tickets. That's why we recommend everybody be with each other by the time they're trying to enter in them an event. So that way we get everybody accounted for and you guys can get your seat at these events. But you guys are just as crafty as I am.
Yeah.
I know what was going on. So
Okay. No, that's important. And definitely keep that in mind for next year. What is like what? Why do you love conventions so much?
I like the networking aspect. That's usually my main thing because I'm like, I'm always meeting somebody new. As somebody who used to be an introvert and did not like talking to people at all, I say this proudly because I'm still technically a bit of an introvert and prefer to be in my household most of the time.
Right.
I like the networking aspect. I meet a lot of different people in different fields of life. People are showcasing me things I didn't even know that I would probably enjoy in the long run or would need in the long run that could help me with my own convention journey and also just me being who I am. So I enjoy conventions because there's always going to be something new I want to see. There's always going to be new people I want to meet, and there's always going to be an opportunity for me to see my friends. And I like the friends aspect of it too because I'm just like I get to see my friends again after not seeing them for almost who knows a week, 2 weeks, month, year.
Yeah.
It's always great to see my people. But what I'm also learning is the panels, the events, and world premieres, especially when conventions have that opportunity to showcase something new to me, I love. And I know I love this because I was able to experience this at Anime New York City. Anime New York City is just one of my favorite conventions, honestly. But they were showcasing different episodes of Nagatoro and this other anime that I love called Tomo-chan is a Girl. And that was the first time they showcased these episodes where they were just like, please don't share this to anybody, don't spoil this for anyone, all that other stuff. That's great. I don't care. I wanted to see what was new about it. And world premieres are just a great way to bring people to these conventions. Because if you can only see it there before it comes out months later, I'll take that chance.
Okay. Well, what do you do when you're not at conventions? Like when I mean, when you have that downtime. What is Mastermind Aggie when she's not a con goer?
Besides her basically being at home, working, making sure she has enough to pay her bills and make sure she's preparing for her next trip, she's also working on other ventures of her own or with her friends. Like for my friends, I love giving them new opportunities because they're artists. They want to be able to put their work out there and let people know that, hey, there's somebody in Philadelphia that knows how to draw or knows how to work with people and they'll be willing to work with them. So for me, I like to do a lot of things regarding marketing, promoting, supporting my friends, and even participating in their content. And I like making my own content, as you guys may or may not know, but I like making outfit videos. I like showing people I know how to dress, which I know how to do quite well. I like showcasing people my sneaker collection, which I have a lot, but you can't see that currently right now because if I have to go through my entire room of sneakers, you're not going to like that. And quite frankly, for me, besides working out, I also like to travel when I can, just for the sake of traveling. And yeah, work, travel, make content, talk to people when I can outside of my own little bubble in Philadelphia or in different places, and visit even my friends, even the mutuals that I meet online that I can't visit at conventions all the time. I try to visit them as much as I can as well, and hopefully it's appreciated or just me just saying, you know what, I feel like coming out to New York one day. Who's available? So
Okay,
being as social as I can.
that's awesome. And yeah, and I see that you make content. Actually, I've even seen like some of your mentioning dances or going on TikTok. You made content on from DreamCon even from conventions prior to that. Do you consider conventions a place of making content?
Sometimes. For me personally, it depends on what's going on at the convention for me to just say I want to make some content there because the content I could make at a convention would be quite useful to a lot of people who have never been to conventions. And that's the thing I like to value in my content sometimes whenever I'm not making an outfit is to like motivate and inform people about things that happen in my life or even outside of what I do. And a lot of people suggested, well, why don't you just make convention based content where you can give tips and tricks about conventions? And don't get me wrong, I've definitely considered doing that, but I also know there are other people who are much more suited for that, one. And two, convention tips this is a bit of a controversial statement on its own, or even a subjective one. Honestly, this is my own opinion, but I think convention tips are subjective and also opinionated to the point where it's just like they can only help a certain amount of people.
Yeah.
Like, I could give you a lot of advice about conventions, from hotels, traveling, going to particular conventions, etc., etc., etc. But it might not be as helpful as it is to one person than it is for me, because whatever works for me can only really work for me. It may not work out for you, but it's gonna work out for me.
Despite that, do you consider yourself wanting to make a convention guide for convention goers?
I still kind of want to do it just because I'm like, some people are going to ask me, how are you able to do all of this at a convention? But when I went to this convention, this didn't happen for me. I
Yeah.
could try. I could go into it and go into full detail about how I'm able to do the ventures I do. But at that point, it's just like, it may not always work out for those people as it will work out for me, because there's always going to be more that goes into it versus me just saying, "Oh yeah, I did this. I met this person. How did you meet this person? Well, I went through this thing. How did you get into that thing? Well, I went through this. I did this, and then I had to do this." There's a lot.
Well, okay, but don't like the worst thing to do is undersell yourself because I believe there's more to you than you may lead on about conventions, and you can make your talent out of anything, anything at all, and going to a lot of conventions, it's a talent. Because, I mean, it's asking a lot of time, it's asking money, it's asking planning, it's asking to. I mean, you could put it in the genre of a travel vlogger, basically.
Right.
But it's for, geekdom. And there's more and more people by the year who've never been to a convention before. They're going to these places, especially DreamCon. Like, you know what? This is my first convention I will ever go to. Um, so you may say that maybe not everybody's going to find my advice helpful, but somebody's going to find your advice helpful. And
And I think about that a lot too, because I've had mutuals, my favorite amongst them, Toasty Marshmallow being like my favorite. She is always talking about how she's managed to make nerd culture, or at least like people who travel and do nerdy things, into lifestyle. And lifestyle is actually one of my favorite types of vlogging and just content on TikTok and Instagram. I have a lot of friends who are involved with lifestyle content, and I liked what they do about it, or at least what they do with it. And I always ask myself, how can I incorporate nerdy content, but also travel content, and even what I do with fashion content into that? And she's like the main pillar for that, because she managed to do that so well, to the point where she's always involved with big brands, but also making it seem enjoyable at the same time too, as well as giving the tips thing. And I'm like, her tips are about as similar as mine, so I don't want to come off as like a complete copycat, but also somebody who has different tips to offer as well.
okay, well, I mean, you don't have to look at that way because I mean, there are a lot of travel vloggers, there are a lot of there's a lot of people making content maybe out of a genre, but it's your personality and how and your thoughts that kind of sells it as its own.
Right.
So I wouldn't consider it a copycat. So hey, I don't know RDC, but all the other creators you mentioned, I'm like, yeah, I know that person. I was like, holy crap, this world is so small. It's so tiny, even though it's on the internet.
For RDC, I mean, that one I will wholeheartedly admit, because this is something I hear commonly whenever I talk to people. They always say they don't really come to DreamCon for RDC, because even though they know them, it's just not their main person that they would like to meet as a content creator. Get that. Completely fine, honestly, because I'm like, when I first came to DreamCon, I didn't really care for RDC themselves. Like, it's great that they found a space like this for people to be able to have that opportunity to make content, meet other people, and have fun. I love that. But I did not come for RDC. I will say that for the record. It was great to meet all of them, because I do like all of them and know some of them to a good extent. But it's just like, I know I didn't come here for y'all.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I would not be opposed to meet. There's nothing I have against. I'd be down to meet them. Just that, like, I don't know who they are. Besides the owners of the convention. And
they're the
they're
to clarify, they're
the
actually the
owners.
founders of the
The founders,
conventions.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
the
the
founders.
founders, but they're like, I'm like, to say owners, I mean, that's a broad. I would say they're the
Yeah.
owners for now, but that's a broad thing.
Yeah, well, legal stuff and contracts, so somebody could
Yeah.
own it any day. The greatest is back, no plot. No, I did see this because we were on. Um, okay, so but just the fact that you already like you're already really good with social media. You know how to you know how to market yourself. Like all your tweets, how you just create trends a lot. So like I mean, and you've even shown because you mentioned like your history background and like working with a community. Like it almost seems like your whole life is kind of led up to something just deep inside that's just asking to be awakened. And you, Aggie, got it. You are meant for something great. If you
Appreciate that.
haven't already noticed already, so don't undersell yourself. That's the lesson you should take home with you tonight.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I try to take away a lot of things I can learn every day. This is something I put in like one of my messages whenever I tell my friends about this, but they're like, you give this morning message every week to the same people almost every time. I'm like, I meet about 1,000 people every day, and honestly, the least you can do is always make them feel good, because quite frankly, not everybody gonna see my morning message, number one, and two, when somebody sees it, somebody's gonna appreciate it. So as long as I'm making someone feel appreciated, loved, motivated, and energetic, I did something right.
No, you are doing something right. About to make a real one cry. Well, I hope we do, Hooper. And I hope when you cry that you wash away those tears with poggers. See, when you get some extra hydration, and again, I'm just acting the fool.
I all right.
No, no, this. No, I'm just teasing because you made a joke about not putting ads, and I well it is kind of when you get sponsored by a company, it is in your best interest to advertise so they can give you more deals and make money with you and all that stuff. But like my room is literally littered with like these energy drinks and G Fuel and all that. So gone out of the Diet Coke is it's definitely healthier. Aggie, don't forget about a real one when you're famous.
Oh Lord, here we go. I'm not even famous for real.
Well, for someone who says they're not famous, you definitely get famous real quick on Twitter.
Listen, I just talk into the void, and just whoever watches it, they're gonna see it. But me personally, if you see something and you just so happen to make a bigger deal out of it than it is, I can only do so much and just say I know my intentions before behind why I said it. Why'd you read it the way you did?
I don't know. You
That,
network quite a bit, so I. I mean, you did help the panel. Like I don't know if people knew about the baddies panel until they saw your tweet. So they have you to thank. I'm sure that guy when you met him, he's like, you know what, Aggie, thank you for sharing my tweets. I know there was a lot of controversy behind it, but you know what? The fact that you shared my panel and made it famous. It's the number one panel at DreamCon. All thanks to you.
I met him at the end of his panel, and I was just like, I am so sorry for the way how my tweet went off for this panel. He was just like, no, no, no. I'm used to it because, quite frankly, if you've seen the content I make, everybody has a lot to say about it. And once my tweet went viral for his panel, people literally went to go see what type of content he made, and they were just like, oh, he's just weird in general. Because he makes a lot of satire comment. I like contents in general. His content's quite satire like. So I was just like, okay, I see why y'all feel the way y'all do, and don't get me wrong, I get it. But at the same time, for me, is this content I genuinely laughed at. I'm not gonna hold y'all. Y'all can just.
Well, you go down the history as the one who promoted that panel, and also promoted a lot of things. Well, it isn't just that. You made a bunch of tweets about DreamCon that made you famous. It's like you know how to go out there on Twitter and then have a lot of people respond to you. That is a talent because anybody so like anybody could wake up one day and said, "Good morning. I had a toaster strudel for breakfast." But when Aggie says it, it's like, Man, Aggie, tell me about that toaster. Is it is it grape? Is it strawberry? Man, I'm gonna buy that toaster. I'm gonna buy that toaster strudel. It's gonna be nice and creamy. It's got strawberry inside strawberry.
It's like, I don't know. I say a lot of things, and then people are just gonna either take an interest to it or just say something out about it, and then now I'm like, I was just talking about it from my experience, but your experience is not going to be my experience. And that's something we should just understand when we do anything and everything we do. I'm not you, and you definitely not going to be me. So,
Well, you definitely. I mean, when you ever you want to push out content, I think you're gonna get a lot of views. In fact, they're gonna look at you and go like, Aggie, how do I forget all this? Let's talk about Twitter. How do I market myself on Twitter? Oh, Mastermind Aggie. What's the master agreement about Twitter?
you want
Do I
to
call
market
that?
yourself
Do
on Twitter?
I mean, like when you tweet, it's almost like you. I mean, following the whole brand thing, like you even have like a couple of catchphrases. Like, what was one that said like Q? It was a QT quote tweet. It was like a couple of like cinema. It started with Q. It was
I'm
like
trying to
I think
think.
it was QTTP or something. But it's basically you had like a four letter like abbreviation, and then the messages.
Oh, question of the day. So it's
Question of the day.
QOTD.
Okay, I made that
I
way complicated.
It happens to the best of us, honestly. But I did that primarily because I used to do that a while back, but I just kind of fell off of it due to not only life things happening, but just me forgetting about it until a friend is like, "What's the question of the day?" And I was like, "What are you talking
Okay.
about?" They were like, "You used to ask me a lot of questions of the day, and now you just stopped. Why not bring that to everybody else so everybody can answer the question of the day? Because I miss it too." So I started that up again recently, and it's been going well. Although I'm less consistent than I was before because I stopped
Okay.
doing it every day. Regardless,
Don't
I
bur-
still
don't.
do it.
No, don't burn yourself out. Hey
Regardless, I
Aggie.
still do it. Yeah, and I just make sure a lot of people get some questions going in the chat and do it for a lot of engagement. Let me see what my people, or at least my followers and friends, are on about for certain questions. And sometimes my questions can be a little silly. Sometimes they're a bit serious. Other
Right.
times I feel like I ask those questions on a whim because they just like to jump me in my notifications about the things I tweet about. So my favorite one just so happens to be something about weird food combinations.
Hmm.
And I said, I like eating pizza with the sweet icing that is used for cinnamon toast sticks.
Okay.
I don't know what it is. It tastes really good. And I brought that up to my favorite YouTuber at DreamCon, which I got it from him. Susie's the one that introduced that to me. And I was just like, do you still do that? And he was like, nah, I don't do it anymore because it makes my stomach hurt. But it used to be really good. And I said, y'all get mad at me when I do it. But when Swoozy said he does it, he's great.
Oh, by the way, there's some. Hey Aggie, W Aggie, liquid underscore oxygen, Mira, no,
Oh, Miriam.
Miriam the goddess. Hi y'all. So we're just talking about how famous Aggie is because honestly, she's
Oh,
become a
here we
celebrity.
go. Not you
Go not
following
go
them.
going on Twitter. Like don't forget about real one. When she goes on Twitter to go like question of the day. And then, like, soon, very soon, let's put this into existence, all right? So, we love the famous Aggie. Yes, we do. So,
Oh wow, famous Aggie.
you know
I
what?
am sick of all of
Put
you.
put it put it in perspective. Okay, no, put it in existence. That you're gonna do question of the day, and it's gonna get quote tweeted by Kamala Harris.
I like hearing answers, so when you put it that way, I can only do so much.
Put it to existence. Her tweets are gonna get so famous that she is gonna get quote tweeted by the next president of the United States. Because let's be honest, it's gonna be that person.
It definitely is gonna be heard. I'm so
Richie
glad.
Rich Rich. Don't forget Richie Rich. Well, oh yeah, she can afford going to all of these conventions. She tweets and it gets a lot of quote tweets and all that. And she makes content about her convention adventures. So like, that is famous. That's literally how famous Aggie is. So I stand. Yeah, I stand too.
Mario, please.
You
Oh,
know,
Lord.
yeah. Look, you, you got something special. Aggie gave me her fifth Lamborghini, and you own
Damn, damn.
Lamborghinis, and you own
First
Lamborghinis.
of
Oh
all,
my
you're already
god.
believing the Lambos. That's
Oh
a
my
tough.
god. Oh my
We're
god.
done.
You own Lamborghinis. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So now I understand this. I understand this fully completely. So okay. So you have a million subscribers. A Lambo.
Uh,
You have a Lambo.
uh,
When you do quote tweets, everybody looks at your tweets. You made a person famous for their panel. You go to seven conventions. You said you go to seven different conventions out of state. You travel. Okay, okay. Let me find out that you hang out with Beyonce.
one day, maybe one day. I hope she sees this and then she just considers. I have a lot to
And
ask.
you have wives? You're in a poly relationship? Oh, now you know what?
Before we
You
get
know
into
what?
that, before we get into
You know
that,
what? That threesome comment makes sense now.
alright, alright, alright.
I mean, if you have that many wives and you own Lamborghinis and you get quote tweeted, you get DMs by the president.
I'm going through it. I should not be going through it off stream, bro.
You feel better now about yourself?
I feel great. Don't get me wrong, but it's just the wives comment it was crazy enough. I'm good.
Well,
Right?
I'm on the train. Oh wow, you're on the train. Wow, Aggie, do you own all the train stations now?
He lives in New York. I don't own that. Y'all good.
Okay, well, um, and by the way, as you know, we are kind of at the climax of this interview. If y'all even have any questions for Aggie, of course, you know that's why we had the stream for you guys to comment, so we interact with y'all and you know read your questions up for our guests. Um,
Yeah, please go ahead and ask me the many questions that you guys are probably going to ask me. I already know where this is about to go.
yeah, tell her about her sixth Lambo. Oh my god, I just spoiled the surprise.
Like now, here we are. What now? Why'd you do that? It's not even going to be a white Lambo this time.
No, it's a golden one.
Uh,
Okay, well, all right. So now I think this is the other thing, because this is in a discussion as well. Health when going to conventions, and we know that back in 2020, you know, COVID, right? A lot of conventions shut down, and then in result of that, you know, they could not operate, or they had to try to find like a plan B, do a virtual convention, but these conventions could not operate at a building, and therefore some of them lost money or some of them closed down.
mhm.
And conventions have been opening up. You know, fast forward, um, COVID still exists, but you know whether or not it's at its worst or it's not at its worst, that's always been a debate because it's not technically the worst disease for the World Health Organization now. But now you also have this thing called like the monkeypox. So you have
Monkeypox,
yeah
yeah.
you have a new virus of the week, but health wise, how does someone enjoy going to a convention and remain healthy?
Hmm. Another subjective but also kind of true comment. Number one, if you know you're sick, or at least you feel like you're not feeling well, do not go. And the reason I say that is because with all the things that we have been through as a whole, being that we were under a lockdown for COVID-19 and multiple other illnesses coming up. Your best bet, if you know you're not feeling well, whether that be physically and even mentally, because even the mental health thing is just as serious as the physical health thing, your best bet is just staying home. And I get it. Not a lot of people wants to experience fear of missing out or FOMO. I get it. But at the same time, it saves you not only money, because you already know how much expenses are as expensive as they are, but it also saves you and other people the risk of getting sick. We don't want people who are sick at a convention where it's an open space, everybody's a potential victim and possibly could get sick. So your best bet is being at home, resting well, and making sure you get better. Mental health wise, I understand not wanting to miss out. But I also understanding you're not feeling like yourself where you can fully enjoy the event. You might go to that event feeling slightly down, and being slightly down is not the issue. It's just a matter of knowing that you're not in the best place mentally, and then understanding that there are other factors like you spending money that you know you don't have and making your mental health go even lower, or also you just not being in the best state of mind right now where everything is tumbling down on you, and going to this event can even make that worse. What can you do to mediate that? First, talking to somebody. That always helps. At least let people know about your situation and see how they can help you. Because people are always going to help. Everybody's understanding at the end of the day. And it's just a matter of you being able to speak on that and then talk to other people about that and see what they can do. Or letting people know that you may not show up due to this thing happening, and then taking time out for yourself. Because you should put yourself first whenever you're going to these conventions anyway. It's always going to matter about you, and it's always about your pockets. So the least you can do is keep yourself in mind before you just start saying, oh, if I don't go to this convention, I'm going to fail my friend, or I'm not going to be able to do this thing with my friend. That's okay. They can be understanding as long as you talk about it, and you should be able to talk about it. But physical health-wise, keep yourself healthy. Make sure you're taking your vitamins. Drink your water. Eat a lot of food. Make sure you eat your 3 meals. Go to the gym. Please work out. Being physically active, these conventions are going to make you physically active. You're going to get tired of walking at some point, but the least you can do is go to the gym and make sure your endurance is great.
That's good. We know that, and that is important. Preach, preach. That's it.
Shout out to Gabby. That's my favorite. But she would know. She hasn't been to a convention, but she went to Summer Smash 2024 this year, and that's a music festival. Music festivals are just as bad. They're just as depreciating as conventions. And if anything, you're outside in the hot sun all day, so you better stay hydrated. Be hydrated. That's the best thing, too, because I'm always preaching about that every week. Yeah. Make sure you're hydrated, because the least you can do is not dehydrate yourself.
That is important. Yeah, okay. What are you most looking forward to in your future?
Future wise, now when you say future, are you talking about 1 year from now, or like 5 years, 10 years?
It could be the next month, girl. It could be within the next 6 months. It could be the next year. But it's what's coming for Aggie? What's in the cards for her?
I have not shared this on Twitter yet. I haven't even shared this with most of my own virtual circle with, but I guess I can talk about the next year for me, because I do have my 2025 con/vacation list ready.
Already?
And I'm sticking with it. I do have it ready, yes.
Wow. Okay, so there's Mastermind Aggie, rich, by the way, rich and famous Aggie, with her next step of gaming prep.
I kind of see it as this. This is how you even get yourself ready for these cons and afford them. You proactively plan them a year ahead so you're able to save your money for them properly. That's how I do it.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, as you were saying.
And like, that being said, for me, I do have my 2025 vacation/con list available now. And that's just for me to be able to go to PAX East, because I love PAX. PAX is like my favorite video game convention ever since E3 got shut down. Sorry to E3, but PAX has been my favorite, and hopefully I will attend PAX West this year, because I did get tickets for it. So, might be going to a convention right after Anime NYC. I might not. Who really knows? I will be attending PAX East in the beginning of May. Then I'll be going to Fan Expo Philadelphia, which is my local con. That's not really necessarily me taking a vacation. I'm just going across the street for real. I will go to MomoCon, and this is provided that I'm able to get approved for the content creator badge again, which was phenomenal. Loved every single moment of it. Love MomoCon down. I will be back. The potential chances of me going to DreamCon are pretty high, so I do expect myself to be in Houston, Texas next year.
The
I preach about
potential
this a lot.
channel. The
I
potential.
say potential.
You
I
mean
know, no,
no?
things could happen.
Oh. Uh oh.
Things could happen. I'm not going to say I'm not going to DreamCon, but I'm also not going to say I am surely going to DreamCon. We're going to see. I do want to go to Houston, though, so there's a good chance I might go.
Okay.
But I preach about this on Twitter a lot, too, but the game Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is coming out in October. I have been talking a lot of nonsense about this game, but I do expect myself to be one of the top 5 players in the world. So, if this
Okay,
game...
so let's see. You're rich, you're famous, top.
I'm like, we're going far
You
here.
got several wives. You got.
Just at this point, I'm just doing
And
a
you're the
lot
top.
and more.
And you're the
I'm doing
top.
a lot and more. So I expect myself to be going to CEO Gaming for the first time. I was really hoping I would go this year, but one, I didn't really see myself going to Daytona, Florida for any reason whatsoever. And two, CEO Otaku indefinitely went on a hiatus where they had to find a new venue. And they did find a new venue because they're now working with Holiday Matsuri in Orlando, Florida. All great, but I just can't go because I'm already doing some conventions in December, so I just not gonna go. And then after CEO Gaming, this will be my first time ever going to Anime Expo in July, and that would be like my biggest con I've ever been to. So that's expected. I'm hoping to go to that one. Then let's see, what's right after that. I think it's just me going straight into August at that point. But I'll be going to Evo too. I want to go to Evo. That is literally a priority convention, but I will be attending Evo.
Okay.
And then hopefully, depending on the dates for Anime NYC, I will return back. But for the most part, me going to these conventions also include me trying to make sure my friends who are artists will be vending at these conventions because we're going to Japan in October. Or I guess the end of the year of 2025. We still have yet to get the dates, but we're going next year.
Okay. Look at you. Are you planning to enjoy life and have a great 2025, the best one yet? Um, Aggie, I adore you. I adore talking to you. I'm sad we never got to even met at DreamCon, but maybe next year if you are able to go. But girls, you are a wonderful human being, and you deserve as much great things going to you. We're gassing you up for a reason. So
It's appreciated because y'all will go crazy with that.
I'm just reading the chat. Like I didn't know about all this wife stuff and this Lamborghinis, so I'm don't. This is not on me. This is the people that he brought are saying all these things.
Oh my gosh! All right, I mean the Lambo thing is enough.
I'm just some random white dude on the internet.
That's crazy.
Interviewing black girls. I don't know.
I mean, hey man, you do what you want. You love it, and you go beyond a minute. Go beyond plus ultra for that.
But how do people follow you just for audio purposes? How do people check you out?
So as we mentioned a lot throughout this entire interview, I'm on Twitter. I just recently went back into Twitch finally because I'm like I can finally stream again. So I'm on Twitch, TikTok. Sometimes I do post on there. Other times I may or may not. But I have 2 accounts on TikTok. Mastermind Aggie being one of them, and then my behind the scenes or just my inner thoughts TikTok, which I call Aggie's Insanity, and then Instagram, all with Mastermind Aggie as the user.
Okay, and for those watching or on the chat, I am also providing the beacons link that has all the socials. One time, Aggie saved my cat out of a tree and let me borrow her Lambo after my goat. Oh, that is so sweet. That is so
Oh,
stupid. What?
Lord have mercy.
The way this is driving you crazy.
It's, you know, the cat was just climbing up the tree. I didn't want it to get hurt this time.
Okay, well, this is on Pawn Express. All Pawn Express except Twitter at CheesePawn64. The VOD is recorded and uploaded and saved forever, pretty much as soon as the interview ends. The video is for your viewing pleasure, and also I save the audio later to kind of put on Spotify and all that. I'm still working on bringing all that together, but when
Oh,
it is, you'll know. And then, yeah, one of the things I am very much an advocate for diversity for those who are new here. So I do interview a lot of women of color who do really amazing things, like Aggie here. So next week's guest, as I've mentioned before or teased, I am going to be speaking to Brianna, the CEO of Women of Soul Society, also running a Black woman anime convention called HotieCon, and
yay!
going to talk to her all about that and more on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. That would be August 21st. And the other guests for next week would be, and this is the name, Black Pussy Power Gaming. With B, well, it's BPPG Gaming. BPPG
Okay.
Gaming. But it's Jazz and Lex, and they are amazing human beings. Don't let the name do anything. They're incredible. So talk to them next week, and more throughout the month. But next time I will be doing a GTRP stream probably tomorrow night, and then as the week continues with all the good stuff. But we are going to now conclude. This has been a wonderful hour and a half with this lovely young human being. So we are going to raid and say hi to another lovely human being. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and do some magic on my end. And the magic says that we go ahead and say hello to actually, let's keep it consistent with theme. You've been to DreamCon, you're a convention goer. Let's raid to someone who also went to DreamCon. Let's
Alrighty.
raid to. All right. Let's raid to Nola Queen Rel playing Killer Clowns. So let's go ahead and. Actually, the stream just started, so y'all can enjoy some good horror gaming for your night. And again, the VOD will be up pretty much after this ends, so let's go say hi to them.
You said you.
How was your stream?
Oh, you gambled all and won it.
Let's get it.
Do y'all want to see a horror movie?
Okay.
Alrighty.
And and I'll see y'all later. Bye.